Hello sewing fans, get ready to learn how to cut and sew elegant long pencil dress with some cutouts. No matter your experience level, I'll provide helpful tips as I guide you through each step. And for the first time viewers, consider subscribing for more sewing content. To get started, you'll need approximately 2 meters of cotton lining material to cover both bodice and the skirt parts since it's a fully lined dress. Next is an African print fabric of your choice, and this here is 2.25 meters for the entire gown. To begin the front bodice drafting, we'll use this drafting paper with all the required horizontal lines drawn on it from shoulder line all the way to waistline. Okay, let's create a basic neckline that is 3 inches wide and 3 inches deep. Then I'll just smooth out neckline using a French curve ruler. Now we'll take half shoulder measurement from center front at 7 inches. From there, measure 1 inch down for your shoulder slope, which is to be drawn from the mark to the neckline width. Alright, let's measure chest line from the point where the shoulder slopes down. Once you have that measured, mark and draw a straight horizontal line across that point. So now that's the chest line. On top of that, transfer half shoulder measurement to the drawn chest line, just so you can achieve perfectly straight armhole depth that joins shoulder slope to chest line. With that in mind, mark waterbar circumference on chest line, then go ahead and find armhole depth midpoint and mark as well. Further on, go 0.5 inches inwards from that exact point. And lastly, use a curve ruler to come up with a nicely drawn armhole in that manner. To create that line, I'll be measuring half bust span at both the waistline and bust line, after which I'll draw a line that runs from waistline to just above the chest line. With the dart line drawn, mark half an inch outwards towards the center front and 3/4 inch on the opposite side. These marks will help draw two parallel lines from waistline to the under bust line. Once done, measure downwards 1 inch from bust line just so you can easily come up with some tiny curves both sides with the help of a curve ruler. On the same note, measure downwards 1¼ inches at the center front from bust line. I'm doing this to be able to draw like a sweater neckline that runs from the mark to the armhole. I'll be using a curve ruler to provide extra support, but kindly note that this can be drawn freehand in case you don't own one. On the newly drawn neckline, measure half an inch again towards the center front and 3/4 inch on the opposite side, allowing you to precisely shape the dart by drawing two lines that join at the under bust line. I want you all to bear in mind that I'll not be replacing the dart to the side because my upper bust measurement is typically around 11 inches. Seems like the current measurement is a bit larger than that, but after cutting and sewing that, we'll be left with about 11.5 inches, which should work just fine. Let's now focus on going 1 inch down right there, and I choose to have 1.5 inches strap. So after measuring that, let's take the total measurement from the junction to the mark, just so we can transfer the same to the sweater neckline in that manner. Given these points, finish up the final outline of your strap, sweater neckline in armhole curve as you're about to see. On to the next step, which is taking quarter waist circumference on waistline, plus 1¼ inches dart replacement, plus further 1.5 inches more stitching allowance. On top of whatever we marked earlier on chest line, add 2 inches stitching allowance. That's an extra of 0.5 inches of what was used. Currently, I'm drawing edges for the bodice block, then I'll cut out a long outline as you'll see later. On to back bodice drafting. As you can see, we have horizontal lines drawn. One big change I've made is neck depth. I went with 1 inch instead of 3. Now from chest line, measure 1.5 inches towards the left side edge and 1 inch towards the center front for new back neckline to be drawn across these marks. I previously adjusted armhole by marking 1 inch inwards on the shoulder. That's the same technique on this part. Let's measure and mark strap width of 1.5 inches at the top and bottom before we draw it. For that placement, also measure half your bust span on waistline and on bust line so that you are able to draw that line. With that line drawn, go ahead and measure that width of 1 inch, after which draw 2 lines from that width to the apex. It's time to move on to marking quarter your waist circumference on waistline plus 1 inch that replacement plus of course 1.5 inches stitching allowance. On the same note, add same stitching allowance to the chest line so as to easily finish a bodice outline. With the bodice block ready, cut out a long outline. Let's now focus on skirt drafting. Here is the fabric folded into 2 with wrong side, and I've left about 1.5 inches for zip allowance right here. I've decided I'll use 50 inches for full length. Printed fabric can be tricky to work with sometimes, so I decided to measure from the hemline upwards to get this design positioned just right on the bottom of the dress. My hemline to waistline measurement is at 15.5 inches, though I'll mark at 15 inches. 0.5 inches is the stitching allowance. Then we'll square out waistline across the mark. With the waistline in place, let's take waistline to hip line measurement, then align across as well. From there, I'll take all the horizontal measurements from center front, starting with quarter waist circumference, plus 1 inch that replacement, plus 2 inches more for stitching allowance. Next is quarter hip circumference plus 2 inches allowance. And lastly, a round bottom of 8 inches plus same stitching allowance. Given these points, smooth outside edge using a hip curve ruler from where you'll cut out. I'm currently tracing out front piece centerline on the back pieces just so I can show you how to eliminate zip bulge completely. Measure 0.5 inches inwards from center line. Additionally, also reduce seam allowance with the same. Once done, draw new center line from waistline to hip line from where you are required to cut out. Pay close attention as I show you how you can have a flower-like cut out on the dress. We are starting with some prep work, just slightly below under hip. Go 2.5 inches inwards on the left. On the same note, measure the last point you want your flower to sit. I hope you understand what I mean. Having marked, draw a line diagonally in that manner. I've had this drafted off camera and I'm now going to trace it out on the fabric thrice across drawn line to the last mark. This is quite simple. Trace it out carefully in all sides. But if you can't do this freestyle like I'm doing, use pins to hold everything in place before you start tracing. With that completed, cut out using traced curve as guide to the last one. Now that we have the cutouts, we are about to start stitching. As you can see, we have enough allowance left on these pieces all round. Also went ahead and traced back skirt pieces from drafted patterns. Front piece is here as well. So now I'll head over to the sewing machine and seal all the side and bottom edges. Then after that, I'll also stitch all around the cutouts after turning the fabric right side out. Let me now illustrate how you'll go about these pieces. After putting right sides together, stitch from the bottom edges upwards with 0.5 inches both sides. Same considerations will also apply to the lining pieces. This is me doing so practically, and if you noticed, I started stitching from bottom edge like I mentioned earlier. In case you get stuck at any point, leave a comment below and I'll be happy to help. Also me showing you how back pieces should be stitched, and I've started by stitching all around the neckline. Once done, make notches all around it as well before you start top stitching. Then go ahead and also seal armholes and side edges. After I was done working on the back pieces, I started working on the front fabric and lining same way we did with the back pieces. Next up, we'll be joining the shoulders together in a very unique and neat way. Pay close attention to this step to ensure a neat shoulder joint. It's crucial to remember not to stitch darts on the back pieces since you'll need to turn it right side out. With that completed, now force front strap inside it like I'm showing you. When it's all out and you're able to see it on the other end, seal it by stitching with 0.5 inches. You'll end up with a professional look like mine. So guys, here is the hemming gum that I ironed in between the fabric and lining before I stitched all around the flowers. Let's now stitch darts from where we notched. Same goes for back pieces too. After stitching that, went ahead and attached back pieces from center line. Though I stitched zipper and slit area loosely for now without back stitching. And very fast, put right sides together, then stitch alongside edge using body measurements. After that, also attach top to skirt part by stitching 0.5 inches along waistline. But first you have to ensure the darts and seam lines align. And if you took all the measurements accurately, they should actually align as mine did. Look at that guys, very elegant and neat. I'll finish this look with beading all around the flowers, then I'll be ready to rock the dress. Kindly don't forget to subscribe if it's your first time interacting with this channel. Also like and leave a comment in the comment section. Bye.